Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to do something a little different. As someone who has a good handful of original characters and is also a lifelong fan of Pokemon, more than once I've wondered about the kinds of teams my characters would have if they were Pokemon trainers themselves. So I thought about it and finally put a few teams together, so I'd like to share them with you. The rules I set for myself is that they have to be full teams of 6. I did my best not to repeat any Pokemon throughout the teams, even if I thought one would be suitable for more than one character. I just had to choose one character to give it to, and I didn't include any legendary Pokemon because it felt like cheating. However, I will include one legendary or mythical Pokemon for each character that isn't necessarily owned by that character but would be suitable to them as like a secret companion or something, just because they remind me so much of each other for one reason or another. But anyway, so those are the rules I set for myself. Let's get started. Starting out with Nike. Nike is the main character of my manga in the works, Fable Forest Bakery, and her role in the story is an aspiring bakery owner, so it was only natural to make her the trainer class Baker. Here's the team that I put together that I thought made the most sense for her. The first obvious choice is Vulpix. I picked Vulpix because Nike herself is a red fox, and for that reason I did choose a few fox-like Pokemon just because I thought they reminded me of her a lot, and I thought they'd be most fitting for her. Vulpix is also a fire type, and bakers and chefs use a lot of heat and fire for their cooking, so perfect fit, there you go. You're gonna notice that a lot of the reasons I choose the Pokemon for my characters are just gonna be based off of vibes, pretty much. I didn't stick to a specific type for each one. I was thinking of doing that, but as I was picking the teams, I was more just picking the ones that literally just felt right, so I hope you're not expecting some sort of intricate formula to this. Next up we have Brazen. This is a perfect choice, just like Vulpix being fox-like and a fire type, but also just because it reminds me a lot of Nike in its appearance, which could be the red on the ears mostly. But honestly, this Pokemon reminds me so much of Nike that if Nike was a Pokemon herself, she would probably be a Brazen. So I thought it was a very fitting addition to her team. But I didn't just give her all fox-like Pokemon, of course. I gave her some sweet-themed Pokemon as well, because, you know, bakery. The first bakery-themed Pokemon I gave her was Fido. It's an easy pick because it's literally bread. So cute. Perfect addition to a baker's team. It's also the first non-fire type on her team so far, being a fairy type. So that's good, we're rounding things out a little bit. And continuing to add new types in there, we're gonna throw in a Thievul, which is a dark type. And this one actually reminds me of Nike when she's cloaked in her red hood and exploring the Forbidden Forest, searching for ingredients for her baked goods. Thievul is a thief Pokemon, and Nike isn't like morally gray or anything, but I guess you could make the argument that she's stealing from the woods. The woods villagers are forbidden from entering in the first place, so you could make that argument. Its general, more threatening aura matches Nike's dagger-wielding, red-hooded adventure mode really well, so I thought it was a great addition to her team, and might be a good companion to have because the forest is a little dangerous, so we gotta have some threatening aura to protect ourselves. The next bakery-themed one I chose is the most obvious of all, I think, in my opinion, with the whole strawberry theme, is Alchemy. Specifically the vanilla and strawberries alchemy, which is also a fairy type, so that means so far we just have fire, dark, and fairy. But that's fine, I think that's well-rounded enough. Yeah, I thought this was a perfect companion, especially because Nike bakes a lot. Alchemy could be a perfect companion to her as she's baking. And it's just the perfect sweet dessert Pokemon. The strawberries on its little... What is that? Its ears? It's perfect. It matches the whole vibe. It's perfect. And the last Pokemon I chose for Nike is Slurpuff. Again, just trying to think about what a baker would have. And Slurpuff being another sweet treat Pokemon seemed very fitting. For a mythical Pokemon that I think is most fitting for Nike, not as an addition to her team, but you know, just the vibes match. The obvious choice for her would be Victini, because their names mean the same thing, victory, so it's perfect. I just have a feeling those two would make an unstoppable force. Anyway, that's it for Nike. The team I chose for her is a mix of fox-like Pokemon and bakery-themed Pokemon, and when I think about it, I think the 3 fox-like ones would be her primary companions exploring the forest, and the 3 bakery-themed ones would be a huge help to her in the kitchen making those sweet treats for her strange little bakery. In a Pokemon universe context, I could see her being a Pokepuff baker, which would mean her team would be just so strong, so well taken care of, and that would make her a very powerful trainer to come across because her team just loves her and she gives them a lot of sweet treats, so you better watch out because they will do anything for those treats. So that's that. Moving on to the next trainer. Next we have Autumn from my webcomic, in which a group of lucid dreamers explore the dream world, make maps of the dream world, fight nightmares. It's a fun time. She comes from a team of 5 members, so I thought it would be very fitting to make them all the Elite Four plus the champion. So if the Supernova universe were a Pokemon fan region, then you'd have to battle all the 4 seasons before you can face the champion who wields the power of stars and galaxies. Anyway, so Autumn's trainer class would then be Elite Four. So here's the team I thought would be most fitting for her. First we have Flareon, because I wanted to give each of the girls an evolution, just because I love the evolutions, and any excuse I have to include them, I'm gonna take it. Flareon I feel would be best for autumn, because when I think of autumn, I think of bonfires and campfires and such. I mean, you gotta stay warm when the weather's getting colder, so that's why I chose Flareon. Next I chose Linoon, and the reason I chose Linoon, not because it's overtly an autumn-themed Pokemon, but because Autumn the character, her Waking World persona, really likes raccoons, so I thought it would be a good pick for her to have a Pokemon that her Waking World self would really like, so that's why I included Linoon. And I don't know, Linoon gives like an autumny feel if you like squint your eyes a little bit, you know? Up next will be a more season appropriate choice, and it's gonna be one that I've given to all of the girls, so at least all the 4 seasons. The next one that I chose is Sawsbuck, and obviously specifically the autumn version. This one's perfect because it comes in 4 seasonal forms, and each of the 4 season characters can have their own, and there's literally nothing better I can think of for a 4th season themed team than the Sawsbuck line. It's perfect. Next up we have Pumpkaboo. This one is so perfect because not only is it a pumpkin, which itself is very autumny, Autumn herself as a character can materialize pumpkins as part of her attack, so it just felt right to give her a pumpkin themed team member too. So far we have a pretty good range of types that we're covering. We have fire, normal, grass, ghost, and the next one is a little interesting because it throws in another type, which I also think is very fitting for Autumn just because of her fighting style, which is the fighting type. Which brings me to Breloom. Breloom is the next choice, and it is grass and fighting. I chose Breloom because it seems very mushroom-like, which is perfect for Autumn, of course. And yeah, I just love that typing, the grass fighting. I think if Autumn herself were a Pokemon, she would be grass fighting, so I think that was perfect for her. Welcome to the team, Breloom. And for the last member of her team, I chose Kricketune. I thought Kricketune would be fitting because of its autumnal coloring, and crickets are they're very autumn and fall. They have that ambience about them. I feel like you start hearing them once the fall season begins, so that's why I thought Kricketune would be another perfect addition to Autumn's team. And its cry is just so perfect. I mean, I can't play it here because I don't have the audio for it, but if you know, you know. It's just like that. I was just about to do it, but I feel like if I did, I would regret it later, so if you know, you know. If you really would like to hear that, then if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll do the Kricketune sound, but I regret to inform you that that's probably not going to happen, so moving on. For a mythical Pokemon that I think would be most fitting for Autumn, it was honestly really hard to choose, but ultimately I decided on Keldeo. Keldeo is such a cute Pokemon, and the fact that its fighting type is a good fit, and the both of them having a strong sense of justice makes them, I think, a good hypothetical companion pair if they were ever to meet. And that is the team I assembled for Autumn. I really like how it turned out. I think it's a lot more balanced and diverse with its typing. I think it has a good range of different kinds of Pokemon, like they're not all just one kind, and I think they all fit the Autumn theme pretty well too, even the ones that are not as obvious. And that concludes Elite Four member Autumn. If I do future videos like this, I will do the other Elite Four members in future videos, but for today I just want to jump right to the champion, so let's see what Champion Stella, what kind of team she would have. Champion Stella is also a Lucid Dream character, but she's not one of the 4 seasons. She's actually just the representation of like stars and galaxies in general, just like outer space. She's the leader of the team that the 4 seasons are on, so again, that's why I chose to make her the champion. One of her main attacks in the canon of the webcomic is something that's very equivalent to the Pokemon attack Swift with all the stars. So I chose Pokemon that could also potentially learn that move, but also with her, I did have more of a focus on type, so with her whole outer space theme, I wanted to go for types that were mostly like dragon, fairy, also psychic because she is one of the most skilled lucid dreamers in the story, so I wanted to include that type as well. For Stella, it was very hard to avoid putting any legendaries in her team because there are just so many mythicals and legendaries that would fit her team so perfectly, but I did my best to avoid them. There's one you could make the argument, but you know what? I'm gonna include it. I'm just gonna do it. It's fine. We'll get there. We'll get there. First, let's start out with the first pick, Sylveon. So I chose Sylveon because its typing is fairy, and it just had general magical girl vibes that I thought would fit Stella very perfectly. Sylveon also gives me leader vibes too, and Stella being the leader of her team, I don't know, it just fit. Next is a more obvious choice with her whole theme around sleeping and lucid dreaming, and it's Musharna. I could totally see Stella having a member of her team that is also able to manipulate people's dreams, I don't know, eat them, I guess, too. I guess Pokemon do that sometimes. You know, just things that lucid dreamers do too. And next up we have Clefable. Clefable and the whole Clefairy line coming from the moon or outer space I thought was really fitting for Stella, and I love that with its signature move Metronome, you can never expect what's going to come next, and that's very similar to any kind of dream that you have. You're not really expecting what comes next, and anything can catch you by surprise, especially if you're at the mercy of someone who has full control of the dream. So I don't know, I just thought it would be a nice fit. Next we have our first dragon type team member. We have Haxorus, and I specifically chose to give her a shiny Haxorus. She just gives me the vibe that she would definitely have at least one shiny Pokemon, and also just the color scheme of shiny Haxorus gives it a lot more of a nightmarish vibe, because even though Stella is not the villain, she can definitely be very scary and very nightmarish at times. And with a team of generally very cutesy, unassuming Pokemon, you need at least one that will come out and just catch your enemies off guard and make them really do a double take right when they started to underestimate you. Next we have Cosmog, and I know, technically it's kind of like legendary or mythical. I don't know, I can't think of a better fit for Stella, so I'm keeping this one. It's just the most perfect galaxy space themed pick, and it more than belongs on Stella's team, so it's staying there. I would have drawn the line at its evolved form, but this form, it's fine. And lastly we have Snorlax. I wanted another sleepy addition to the team, and not only is Snorlax very sleepy, but it's very powerful too, sort of like a secret weapon type team member. And for the legendaries that I thought would be best fitting secret companions for Stella, I was actually stuck between a few, so I decided I'll just mention two. There are just so many legendaries that fit Stella's theme so well. The first obvious one is Jirachi, being a star. Stella in her story has little starlight companions that she can like summon and wield to fight with and also keep her company, and Jirachi's a cute little star Pokemon. And the other very fitting choice is Cresselia, with its very dreamy theme. I'll mention Darkrai as an honorable mention, but Cresselia just won out in the end. And that's the team I put together for Stella. It was really fun putting a team together for her, and I really like all the choices that I picked. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching me put these teams together for my OCs. This was a very fun challenge to do. I highly recommend, if you have some original characters of your own, to give this a try for yourself. It's really fun. Now all I want to do, honestly, is put one of these teams together, or all of them, and see how they actually work as a team. Like maybe I'll pick a game to put one of these teams together and then face the Elite Four as that character. I don't know, that would be a fun thing to try. So this is going to be my last video for a while. I'm actually going to Japan with my soon-to-be husband, and so I will be away for a period of time, and I'll probably be returning at the end of November. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that upcoming hiatus. So thank you so much for watching my videos up to this point, and I hope you really look forward to and enjoy the future videos I eventually put out too. If you like what I do and you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing, checking me out on my other socials, and supporting me on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. That would be super cool if you did that, but just watching my videos already means a lot. Thank you again, see you next time, bye bye!